Hello, and welcome to another Global GEG event. This is episode 2 of Ask Us Anything. My name is Rick Ballou, and we have with us a panel of experts. I'm going to bring on a couple of them. We'll start with Maria.
Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Maria Etheridge. I'm from Lakes Entrance, Victoria, and I'm a primary STEM teacher and Google Innovator and GEG leader.
Oh yeah, I forgot to say what I am. I'm Rick Ballou. Next up, I'm going to bring on Shannon.
Hi, everybody. Shannon Moore here. I'm a high school English teacher and site tech coach, and I am all about joy and having a good time. So I'm excited to be here answering your questions today.
And here's Keely.
Hey, hi everybody. Welcome to Ask Us Anything episode 2. My name is Pilar Hernandez. I am from GEG Nuevo León. I'm the leader, well, one of the 3. I'm a 9th grade chemistry teacher and I don't know what else, certified Google trainer and innovator. Thanks for coming.
And Jenna is here.
Hi, I'm Jenna Ashley, high school inclusion math teacher and Google certified trainer and newly minted Google certified coach.
Whoop, whoop. And coming in hot from Colombia.
Yeah, that's me, apparently. Well, he didn't even say my name, but by the way, guys, this is Melissa, or Mel. Most people know me as Mel. Yes, I'm in Colombia. Thanks, Rick, for that amazing introduction. I'm a MYP and DP mathematics teacher at an international school here. That's me. Thanks.
Woo! All right, we're going to get started with that. There's us again. Notice the holiday attire. And let's just hop into our first thing. The opening question: how to work with unmotivated tech challenged teachers. There is an actual curve to the adoption of tech, and oftentimes they're labeled as laggards, which I wish wasn't the title because it's such a bummer of a title. But how do you do it? Who's going to go first on this one?
I'll go first. I have found for some of the tech laggers that Kahoot or Pear Deck are great, both great tools to get both the teacher engaged and the student, because the students are so interactive with it. The teacher then has wins with it, and they're more inclined to explore a bit more.
Yeah, and in my case, my always advice, the advice I always give is like, maybe if I show you something that can help your workload become smaller or easier to handle, it would help you out to, get more involved with EdTech. So one of the things that I try to show people a lot is how to filter out their email so that they can ignore their boss's emails. No, find them faster. Find them. That's it. Yeah, find them faster. So they filter them out and they find them faster.
I love that. That's a really awesome, great tool, and has helped me a ton too. I would say if I had to choose a way to really kind of reach that teacher, I would really focus more on like the relationship side. I think that, for any individual, if the relationship's not there, then there's no working with them, right? As that, quote says there, no significant learning occurs without a significant relationship. And oftentimes that's applied to both teachers to students, but the reality is that is also applied teacher to teacher. So, something as simple as writing a positive card or buying them a coffee. And that really does go a long way. And I believe Jenna also has kind of some expression about relationship as well.
I do, but mine, so I tend to go the other way with it rather than trying to get them to try something. I tend to get them to come watch me. Be like, hey, I'm really struggling with something totally different. My kids are doing something weird. They're not getting this one topic. Can you come watch and see if you've got any tips? And they're like, they come out by the end and they're like, so that thing you did, that what was that Pear Deck thing? Because you could see everything they were writing. you could tell who was paying attention. Even the kids who were on. How does that work? And it's sneaky, but it's effective, and I like it.
For at least for me, what I found is to try to meet them where they are. I, like all of us here on the panel, we will do training and can get enamored with the newest tech tool and be like, this is so cool, check it out. And if they're not ready to learn it, it won't matter. So I try to meet them where they're at. And if they're not prepared to learn it, there's no point in trying to shove it down their throat. So what I try to do is find something that they might be struggling with and propose a tool to meet them where they are, so to speak, right? Like if there's something specific they're struggling with, like, oh, we could automate that with an AutoCAD or something like that, that will make their life easier. And I find that is really helpful.
That sort of leads on to mine as well. So I know that what everyone else has already said about relationships is super important, but what Rick was saying about like sort of meeting them where they are, and then also showing them, like demonstrating to them like how easy some things are to do. So talking about like Google Forms, things that like can be marked like automatically, because as like PLA mentioned before, like, you know, ways to save time, because a lot of, you know, teachers are stressed and they're looking for ways to like actually save time. And like if they're demotivated, and maybe that's something that they're just going to quickly go to, because they'll be like, okay, so just give me something that I can just use now, because like otherwise I just can't do it. So just giving them, like, even if it is a quick tip or something like what the others have mentioned, then I think that is really important, as of course relationships. But yeah, that's it.
Absolutely. So I think that just to reiterate one more time, the way that this process works, people post questions and we're going to try to answer them to the best of our ability. We always encourage individuals in the chat to add your questions. Let us try to tackle those. And hopefully we'll all learn something along the way. So let's move into the first question.
Okay, so our first question was about Google Jamboard. I know a lot of people were really excited when Jamboard came out, but this question was, how do I assign or copy just one jam assignment when a jam is connected to multiple jams? This was more about how you can, you know, interlink them. They didn't want to assign their whole class a whole jam deck, but they weren't quite sure how to do it. And unfortunately, the short answer is you really can't. You do have a few different options. You can make your jam deck, sort of like a slide deck, make your series of Jamboards, and assign each one their own jam. Or you can use one, like you can set up in Google Classroom where a copy is made for every student. Everybody gets their own. Everybody can share their own. No problems. The other option is, and I think this is what the question was trying to get away from, but you can assign a whole class jam and assign each person a page number basically that's theirs. But the other option is you can, I know everybody, we are all guilty of it, like we said earlier, wanting to use the cool new things. Rick's just, yeah. You can still use Google Slides though, and with Google Slides you can link directly to a specific slide. So I can send a link straight to this slide first to one student, and then a separate link to a different student to take them directly to their slide. The one really important thing you have to remember with Jamboards is there is no version history. There is no keeping track. If somebody puts something, if I assigned Rick this particular jam within a stack, I don't know if he's the one that put something inappropriate up there, except, you know, I know Rick. It could be Shannon decided to try to get him in trouble, and that innocent face doesn't work. And she put it on his jam, and we have no way to prove it. So do be careful, because you can't track who done it. Okay.
Okay, so this is question 2, and we didn't tell, like, we aren't going to say who asked the question, but someone did reach out to me on Twitter and asked about these. And it also got entered on our form, which is great. I would like to learn about Wonderopolis and how I can become a Google certified educator. So I'll answer the Wonderopolis question first, and Peely will answer the Google Certified Educator part. So when this slide deck goes out and the eventual Wakelet that has all of these awesome resources, you can click here to learn all about Wonderopolis. But Wonderopolis is basically a really cool site for young learners that they can ask pretty much any question that they're wondering about, like what the term wonder. See, it's not just a clever name, Wonderopolis. So you can post a question, and the top voted question will be the one that gets answered. And each question of the day, or wonder of the day, as it's called, will have tons and tons of links that are either produced by like BBC or other people at Wonderopolis that answer all the questions. And it's a really great jumping off point as well. Flipgrid, as we all know as educators, has partnered with some amazing companies, one of them including Wonderopolis, where you can add a wonder of the day all the time. So each day you can add whatever their current wonder of the day is, and then kids can just post to it. And it's all pre-made and ready to go on Flipgrid in their Explorer section, I believe. But me personally, I don't learn about a product unless they have a badge. And this one has a badge. So you can become a certified Wonderologist. And honestly, I didn't know anything about Wonderopolis until I looked at, it's Rachel C., right? Her badged tech. Her badge tech. She had the, badge ed tech or badged tech. She had a badge for Wonderopolis, and it was a really cool looking badge. So by clicking on Certified Wonderologist, you can learn all about all the cool features of Wonderopolis. And it is pretty neat. So if you get a chance, type in Wonderopolis on your browser of choice and find about the wonder of the day. It's pretty cool.
I'm going to do it this summer.
I think I'm going to do it too. It sounds amazing. To be honest, I haven't seen it.
I'm going to spend summer collecting all the badges.
Yeah, it is a really cool badge.
So to become a certified educator is Google makes it really simple for you to start the process. So they have this teacher center that, again, like Rick said, you're going to have the link right there to click on it. And the teacher center has what they divide into fundamentals training and advanced training for level 1 or level 2. You don't have to go 1, then 2. You can start with 2 and then do 1 if you want. It doesn't really have a particular order for either one. But they have all the training there. It's a self-paced course. And by the time that you're done with the course, which is like free, you can then pay for the exam to get certified. And it has its little details. So one of the things that you should consider is that it is an actual exam. So you actually need to pay attention in the training. It's not like many certifications where you would just blow through it without really learning something. The good thing is that you actually come out the other side of the certification learning a lot of useful things for both the classroom and the office if you're an administrator. So it's a really good thing to go for it. You can also access our Global GED channel, and we have boot camps on level 1 and 2 that were done this summer. And they were separated by different days. There's an agenda attached to them and slide decks and resources. There have been people that have certified due to those boot camps. So highly recommend it.
And it, again, as a collector of badges, as many of us are, you do get some pretty cool badges. They've recently updated them. I'm not sure how I feel yet currently about the badges for the level 1, level 2. Hey, that's me. But yeah, you get a pretty cool badge. And honestly, I'm not going to name any other programs out there where you can just get a badge for guessing on an exam. But this one, Peely's right. It's no joke. You actually do have to kind of pay attention. So it is a badge that's worth something, It is a certification that's worth something. It is valid for about 3 years, if I recall. Yes.
and you do have to recertify it. If you're recertified on the time that they give you, the exam is a little shorter, but it's like to keep you updated on your certification. So it's an actual credential, to be honest. Yeah.
Mm. And you need both of them to become innovator.
Yeah, you need level 2.
And trainer and coach. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, moving right along to question number 3. So somebody asked, how do you use social media to start building your PLN or professional learning network? I would go ahead and I think Mel and I are going to tackle this one. One thing that I think for me, is you got to start and figure out, okay, what exactly is my goal for using social media? Do I want to make it personal, professional? My personal opinion, I would say find a social media platform that is solely devoted to your professional kind of growth, because sometimes muddying the line between personal and professional gets a little weird. And so for me, for example, my Twitter is my professional platform, and then Instagram and Facebook are more my personal one. I've made this graphic here for you. Sylvia Duckworth, she created this graphic and then I added to it. And honestly, I know that there are people out there that are like kind of uncertain about where to start on with social media as like a PLN. And I would recommend take a look at those hashtags that we listed there. So something like hashtag EduTwitter, hashtag teaching, education, etc. And honestly, if you just put them in the search bar in the Twitter platform, it'll bring up any type of post that has had been tagged with that hashtag. And that honestly is how I got started. I think, to be honest with you, I found Global GED because somebody kept using that hashtag over and over again. And so finally I inquired about it. And now look, this is where I am with the most incredible professional learning network there is. In fact, here's a shameless plug. If you are watching and you are not following at Global GEG on Twitter, you're missing out. A lot of learning to be had there. Mel, can you tell us a little bit about the symbols that are here?
You're talking about as in like hashtag at and then the comment.
Yeah. What else could they look for?
So I think that like basically what Shannon said has basically summed up all the things. But I mean, like with hashtags, you can like Shannon has linked in like actual hashtags. You can follow like all the things if you actually click on there later on when you actually when we actually share the slide deck. But I mean, like things like EduTwitter or like I Teach Math, for example, because I teach math, like that one, or MT Boss. Like there's like a heap of like tags that you can do specific to like your subject as well. So if you are like a math teacher like me, like I often will look for I Teach Math because most math teachers will use that to share like their resources or whatever. And I'll see if there are educators there that I can go and check out. And some of those that have a lot of followers, they have lists. And you can also follow those lists to see like all like the amazing teachers that might be, like I have this list called Cool Math Teachers. You can follow that if you like. But I mean, like that's another way to sort of like expand your PLN as well. And then the at is like talking about like the mentions. So it's also like for me, like if, for example, with Global GEG, what Shannon's just mentioned, like if you wanted to see, for example, when Global GEG has talked about Jamboard or something, you can search for like at Global GEG and Jamboard, and it'll bring up with all the things that whenever Global GEG actually talked about Jamboard. Yeah. But I mean, like the thing is like when you are tweeting on Twitter and that sort of thing, it really is good to use hashtags as well so people can actually find you. And you can mention people so they actually can see what's going on. Because a lot of the time, if you just post something on Twitter without any hashtags or without any mentions, people are not really going to see your things. So yeah, it is really important to use some of those that what Shannon mentioned.
Yeah,
earlier.
and I know that it gets overwhelming for some people because social media, I mean, Twitter in and of itself, I know we keep focusing there, but Global GEG also has an Instagram, and there's some wonderful educators on Instagram, and even as far as TikTok, if that's your thing, searching hashtags that are linked to that, I guarantee you're going to find a community, at least something of interest that you can then jump onto and really kind of grow yourself and really kind of create a community. All of those links all those icons have links to articles that suggest people to follow, Twitter chats. And so I guess before we move to question 4, I would love if everybody in the chat maybe would go around. I know Mel mentioned I Teach Math, that Twitter chat or that hashtag. If you go around and maybe share with our viewers as to like what your favorite Twitter chat is, perhaps, or account or anything like that. We'll go ahead and start with Maria.
Okay, I'm going to be cheeky and do a plug for our global GEGAU Twitter chat that is on fortnightly on Wednesday nights. Its time zone does look after the Australian New Zealand time zone, but everyone is welcome, and we have different topics each time we send it out on Twitter. There you go. That's a big plug.
Awesome. And Rick's pointing to me, so it looks like it's my turn. You know what? Honestly, I love Twitter chats. I love jumping in. I'm going to plug 2. I'm going to plug one I just recently engaged with and was like enamored. It was my first time yesterday. And that's, or maybe it was this morning, hashtag Ditch Book. Matt Miller's Ditch That Textbook kind of Twitter conversation, hashtag Ditch Book. And then it's just a really great time. Everything, it was all gifts, talking about gifts, giving gifts, you know, that we can share with our communities. And to be honest with you, you know, you don't have to participate live in any of these Twitter chats. You can always go back and grab the goodies. And a lot of people create wakelets out of their chats. So I'd encourage you to really like dig deep and try to find one that, you know, appeals to you. And real quick, I also am going to plug Carrie Bachman and her hashtag Doodle and Chat. It's a community I kind of joined on Saturday mornings, and we get together and we doodle live and chat about it. And I love it. So if you're artsy or not artsy, but like to maybe doodle here and there, hashtag Doodle and Chat.
In my case, I go with the very basic one, hashtag EduTwitter, because unlike some people that are on the chat that say that their account is purely professional, mine is both personal and professional. So when I want to look up something, I go with the hashtag EduTwitter, hashtag GlobalGG. Sometimes due to people tweeting about it, like when Shannon tweeted with Adobe EduCreative, yeah, I go into it. One of the few chats that I've actually participated on has been hashtag Google for Edu and hashtag Guru Chat, which is run by Mary Manzano. I like to participate on that one. It happens half a day in advance from my time zone because they're in the Philippines. So it's like every Friday night. Sometimes they do the Twitter chat in the live. Sometimes it's just the live one. Hashtag Guru Chat. It's a good one.
Oh, me.
Either way.
Jenna, I'm still Googling what a Twitter chat is. Go ahead.
It's so funny you say that because I'm actually getting my admin certification through a local university here. And we had an assignment a couple semesters ago that we had to participate in at least 3 hours of Twitter chats. And everybody in my class went, "What's a Twitter chat?" And I typed up a whole explanation, sent them a bunch of links. And I will say one of my favorite ones is hashtag Flip Class Chat. And it's Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern. And it's working on, and it's become so much more relevant now, flipped classroom model, where your kids watch an introductory video, say the night before, and that way they come to the lesson already having a bit of an idea what they're going to talk about, and it's not brand new, fresh. They come in with questions of, "Miss Ashley, I got this part, but I don't get how you got from here to there." And they've got an idea, and they come in with much more rich questions because they've had time to let it simmer. And it's really got some great ideas. It's got a lot of really good resources. And one of the biggest things is nobody judges you for asking what you probably think is a really stupid question. Because I went, "Where do I start?" And they're like, "Here's things. Here's even a list of all the mistakes we made from the beginning so you don't have to make them."
I'll go. The one I just found from a quick Google is hashtag EdTech Chat After Dark. I've just turned my Twitter is purely professional. I may say silly things in person or on other channels, but all I use it for is EdTech-y stuff and bragging about badges and whatnot. But EdTech After Dark is sounds like it'd be something I'd be interested in, so that's why I picked it. Mel?
Okay, so I actually mentioned yours, Jenna, earlier, the Flip Class chat. I mentioned that in the YouTube because I participate in that every Monday, even though I'm not a professional flipper. But other chats that I'd recommend are, I don't use Open Up Math, but it is a really good chat. I think it's also on Monday nights. It's 30 minutes before or 30 minutes after the Flip Class chat one. So it's really good. Like they've got really cool themes each week. It might be about like how they're doing like reflection or how they're doing collaboration or just about like different tools they're using in the classroom for the math. It's like Open Up Math. I can put it in the chat later. And Nearpod chat is reasonable. They've usually got something pretty good on I think it's Wednesday nights. Maybe I should actually write stuff eventually, but those two are good as well. But those three, like I usually participate in, like Flip Class chat, Open Up Math, and Nearpod chat. Yeah, so those are pretty good.
All right.
Okay.
I think this one is me and Maria. Go ahead.
Okay, so this next question is about whether Google Drive can be available offline, or is it just a document you create?
So I did this part. The answer is no. You can't do the whole drive. Go ahead, Maria.
So what I've done, when you get the slide deck, you will see a little video there, a very quick video demonstrating how you can make your documents, etc., available offline, but you can't make a whole drive offline. So it's very straightforward. And as you can see, even by the little graphic there, it's a matter of a slider bar.
Awesome. All right, moving right along to question number 5.
Okay, so that's me and Rick. I'm just doing a quick definition about like whether someone asked whether we could give an overview or explain like how teachers best use Google Applied Digital Skills program with their classes. And coincidentally, last week, I think it was, I attended a webinar with Sue Trankina, actually introducing this. She was showing, like she did a workshop on applied digital skills, and it was quite amazing. So I put in there a screenshot of the actual definition. I mean, it's free, it's video-based, it's online, but it prepares students of all ages for the growing number of jobs that require basic digital skills. Now, Rick's going to go more into like how you actually use it in your classes, but like an example would be like doing a resume. You know, like that sort of skill can be found there, or like creating like an interactive or a good slideshow, like that skill is actually there, and they've got like full lesson plans. But anyway, I'll let Rick go and talk about that. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, no, you're explaining it beautifully.
No, you go. No.
The best. Oh, I just almost kicked over my computer. Anyway, I got more specifically into how you just use it. You would log into the Applied Digital Skills site, log in and choose teacher, because it's going to give you the choice of teacher or student. Then my recommendation is explore the lessons, because you can take them all wholesale. You can just grab it and like, I'm going to teach this, and you could do that. And you can import, either start a class, assign it there, or just go through and pick different materials you want to use. I recommend looking at it first, because one of the nice things is if you pick a lesson that you're interested in, you can see exactly how to run the lesson. Gives you estimates on how long it might take to actually do, and it tells you what sort of resources you'll need, and it provides you with them, which is great. But because it's all free, you could just explore those resources and create your own lesson, so you're not locked into doing it their way. This isn't one of those fabulous standardized tests we've all come to know and love. You can take anything you want and use it. And so I know, I'm going to call her out here, but I know, Peely, you've used it, you said at one point, and you just kind of were picking and choosing from it, because you don't have to do all of this stuff that's there. You can pick things that you like.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I remember that what I did was I selected some of of the lessons that were oriented towards either all ages or especially middle school. And I selected ones that I thought were going to be useful skills for my kids. And one of them was about selecting and like identifying reliable sources and identifying like fake news, that
Right.
kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That-
so very
that is a super important skill. I wish we all had it. Anyway, that's really all I have to say about applied digital skills. It's really cool. They keep adding to it, because I remember creating a class shortly after it had been announced by Google. I'm like, oh, I want to do this. And then I didn't look at it for a while, because like a lot of the tech toys, like, oh, neat. And it was shiny at first, and then I put it aside. But then logging back in again, I'm like, man, they have a ton more stuff. And just checking in regularly gives you a chance to get some cool tools. Again,
yeah, I'm on the newsletter. They keep sending me like the newsletter, even though it's been like 3 years since I last taught it.
Right on.
Yeah, but I keep it because sometimes they actually announce like stuff to come or events to come, or in the case that you were saying, Rick, it lets us know when new lessons have been added. So yeah, it's like every few months or so. Sometimes it's once a month, sometimes it's like every 3 months. But yes, they keep adding stuff.
Hey, Rick, is there a badge for this one?
No, which is why like I looked at it and went, cool. And then I noticed there was no badge. And so,
Of course. All right.
But if you do the webinar, so if you do the webinar with Sue or Derek Trankina, they will give you a certificate for it.
Hey.
They only just started doing that. Like when I did the PD with them, I think it was the 2nd of December. They said it was the first time they were actually doing certificates.
well,
So you can say that but it's for a PD. It's not like a badge, but
certificates are pretty cool too. So
Still proof.
They're like big badges.
exactly, giant badges.
All right. Moving on to question 6.
Okay. This came from a friend of mine. She was asking for advice, not in EdTech, but setting up for efficiency in a business. And she wanted to know whether she could share tasks. If you're not familiar, tasks is available on your Gmail account, and you can also access it individually or separately as well. So tasks is basically just a to-do list if you're a list person. And if you download the app Task Board, then you are able to have a whole dashboard of all your different tasks, because you can create, like I have a shopping list task, as you can see by the image that's up on the slide deck. But using the Task Board dashboard allows you to share individual task lists with other people. So then that becomes a live task list between who you share it with, and it can be ticked off as they're completed. It's nifty.
Pretty cool. Hey, so what would you say, I'm just curious, Maria, because I've never used tasks and it sounds cool. What would you say to someone that was like, well, why don't I just use like Google Keep? What do you like better about tasks over Keep?
I tend to think myself personally as Google Keep as a visual collection, and whereas task for me is just like the old manual list. If I needed to write out a shopping list in days gone by, that's what task represents for me. And I like that I can drag something from an email and put it straight into the task as a to-do.
That's awesome. Very cool. Very, very cool. All right. Question number 7.
Jen, are you going to read
Jenna
it?
and
I can read it, I guess, and then Jen can explain the first part because she has some epic advice. So our question 7 was about like what are some useful EdTech tools to enhance communication with all stakeholders, so students and parents. All right, Jen.
So this is going to vary a little bit based on your level, just because kids respond, at least for the students, they respond a little differently. I really like Class Dojo for like your elementary level. It tends to be a little more fun. You can integrate it with your classroom management. You can send messages to your students. You can send messages to their parents. When they get to the secondary level, like I said, I teach high school and I used to teach middle school. I really like Remind because, well, let's start with the easy one. It's free. Free. And the kids can there's an app for their phone that they can literally text you with. They feel like they're texting. It doesn't feel any different to them, but they don't have to have your phone number. The parents can have it too. They can do the same thing. It's nice because you can also send announcements to your kids. Hey, don't forget your project's due today. So that way somebody can't say, oh, oops. Google Voice is really nice. Yes, they have an app. The Remind has an app. It's beautiful. Google Voice, obviously, it's nice because you can just literally text, call. I don't always want my parents to have my personal cell phone number, but I need them to be able to send their messages right to my device. So I can do that with Google Voice. It used to integrate with Hangouts, and I know Hangouts is going away, but the Google Voice app is still free and easy to use. And it gives you a local number, especially if you're, I know we have a lot of military here where I am. So it gives them a local number that the parents can call and text and they don't feel weird about. Plus, some of our kids have gotten wise and blocked the school number on mom's phone. S'more is really good for putting together newsletters. Shannon, yeah. Shannon is S'more. She is our S'more.
Oh, you weren't talking about me, though.
No, but you're still,
Okay, just
wonderful.
making sure. Proceed.
It is great for newsletter. We do not have it in Australia. Oh, Google Voice is not available in Australia. That's a new one I did not know. There you go. So there have been some issues with teachers creating Google Voice accounts, and that is actually a school setting. Like my school account, our district has locked out Google Voice, but I have it from my personal professional email, like the one I use for like job applications or something like that, which it's still free. It doesn't give them your email, but one really nice thing is it does keep a log, just like Remind and Dojo. That way, if you need to go back and say, hey, I've called you, I've tried to get, your student in here for tutoring or let you know that they were in danger of failing, you've got, unfortunately that we need it, but you've got that backup. S'more is really good for being awesome, but also for class newsletters. I know we use them for our school-wide newsletter every week. And then you've got your old school ideas, and there's some links in here for these if you want to try them out. Email templates for Gmail is awesome if you're going to send the same email 14 times.
Do you want me to talk about that?
Yes, because you are the queen of templates.
No, I'm not. What was that? No, I just put that in there because about like increasing the communication basically with your students and parents, that I just do sort of old school, like every Friday I send out a weekly email to the parents, usually attaching either a Flipgrid or a Loom screen recording, or just myself and amazing things of what's been going on that week and what's coming up the following week. Just so the parents are aware of what's going on, because I know that we do have Google Classroom, like for example, for my school, we have Google Classroom, but those Guardian summaries don't really show, the detail of like what we were actually doing. And it's just like sort of a space so that if the parents see that, they also see that, okay, yes, and they might ask me some questions. Sometimes they'll reply to me or they'll just say thank you or whatever, just for being aware, like so that they actually know what's going on. Because a lot of them, they don't know what's going on because their children do not share that with them. And that's why Jenna mentioned like the templates thing. So I do have like a template for those messages that go out, so I don't have to like retype the whole thing each time for each parent group. So I do use those as well. But that is just another way to maintain like a good contact with yourself, with the students and the parents during this virtual lifestyle.
And I really like scheduling emails. That way I don't have to remember at 7:00 on a Monday morning that I need to, hey, don't forget we have a test today. I can have it set and it goes out automatically. And that way the kids know, they're like, okay, but the parents also know to ask when they get home, hey, how'd that test go? Because I got an email.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving right along, let's go ahead and pop over to question 8.
That's my question. All right. So it says sharing links with students. When do we share view and when do we share edit with students? Well, I guess it depends. If you go to the next slide, it depends on how you're sharing it. If you're going to use Google Classroom, for instance, it's like right there in the assignment, it gives you the choice. Like, how do you want to share this out? And it depends on the purpose of the activity. So, for instance, there was this girl, Emma Cotier, this teacher in Twitter, that shared out a slide that you can add to your slide deck if you want to share one single document for a whole group with like etiquette, like follow these rules so that everybody can collaborate without, getting in each other's space. So there was one time when I did this with my students, and it worked really well. Like everybody stayed on their own slide to work, and I had all the works collected into one same document. It was early in the year when they're still afraid to do, stuff, but it worked perfectly. So whenever you want to have everybody collaborating on the same document, it works really well to share, like for them to edit. When you just want them to view, maybe it's because it's something informational and you just want them to view it. And when you want them to edit, is like everybody can write on it. So you have to make sure that the format that you're sharing out is going to work for everybody. For instance, the difference between sharing for edition one Jamboard versus one slide in Google Slides or one slide deck. Jamboard kind of gets, it freezes over above 16 people working on it. And on the other hand, slide deck can have 30, 40 people at the same time, and it works okay. Documents work more or less the same way. So when you want them to have their own copy, that's when you want the student to have their own version without anybody interfering with whatever they're writing down. So this is good for like lesson reflection. I believe last episode I mentioned it about it is from Make Math Not Suck. So I put the link there for that blog post where it comes like it talks about the importance of lesson reflection, and it has a template. So you share the template with everybody can have their own copy, and then the student is free to like write anything that they know you're going to read, but not anybody else in the classroom. So that's more or less the mindset, I guess, that you would have to keep when sharing a resource with the kids. Depends on the purpose. So I hope it was useful.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, question number 9.
Oh, this is from our friend, What the Trick Math, I believe, this question. She asked, what are top video tips, tools, editing structure, all of it? What do you have to say, Maria?
There is heaps out there. There's also, is in regards to programs, we've got a few listed on the slide deck. But I would just like to mention that it doesn't need to be expensive to start off with. You can do a lot with just a mobile phone. There's even programs I've mentioned at the end there, Magistro and Speak Pick, where my kids have used that in their school assignments, where they just they had to research a famous person. So they looked for the picture and then they spoke their speak as if they were that person and inserted into their Google slide. So that's a way from the student perspective that it can be interactive. And then from the teachers, as you can see, there is lots of videos there. Lots of programs there that you can use to create videos. Would you like to speak about the tips, Pilly?
Yeah, I mean, it's really all into, again, what's the purpose of your video? If you want people to see only you, maybe you can use Flipgrid. Or like Maria said, you can just record yourself on the phone, and then even the phone, like if you have an iPhone, it has like an iMovie to edit your own video without problems. If you want to make a lesson out of it, then you can put yourself like a green screen or something. WeVideo is wonderful for screencasting and recording yourself at the same time if you have a school license. If you have only the free version, you can do that, but you have to do it in parts. You have to first record your screen and then record yourself. And it's a good way to, like with a green screen, you can insert yourself inside of the presentation. Our friend Darren White has made a couple of videos about this, where he shows like you can like insert yourself and like point at whatever you're showing, so you can give like feedback, for instance. So yeah, tools that I would recommend would be to have a good microphone and a good camera, but you don't have to buy it. Like your cell phone has a very good camera, so you can record yourself with your cell phone. Having good light, which is always a problem of mine. and one of the best tips that I've been given is to have your script already written and preferably practiced, so that you don't like do this get stuck when you're talking. And the other one is to recording parts. That way you don't have to do a lot of editing. If you're recording parts, it's more likely that you're going to do it perfectly on one take rather than to make 20 takes, because you have to say a lot of things.
Yeah, if I can add to that, Pilly, for my Google Innovator application, I use Adobe Spark. I liked it because I could do it in bits. So if I made a mistake, only that little section I need to redo. And I create a visual storyboard. So I sketched it out. Rather than a script, I had a picture exactly how I was going to present it graphically with my image and with the words that were going to be there. That's how I planned it out.
And I for my innovator thing, because I applied when you only had 1 minute, so I recorded in Screencastify, but I also used Canva and a WeVideo, and then I sped it all up by 0.125% to get it into the minute in iMovie.
Yeah.
So you can use all the tools to do all the things. Some do it just better than others. So if you have a lot of tools in your toolbox
And mix them up.
you can kind of use all of them. And it was fun.
So if anybody that is watching has another like question similar to this or more specific, don't forget we're going to share a link for the forum for the next episode. Next up is Shannon and Mel. What's the next question?
Something.
She was saying she was having an issue with her computer for a second. So, she's back.
Sorry.
Or not. Okay. Well,
I can just say what the question is.
Idea.
That
works.
Okay. So our question, was what are the best ways to set up groups, who can work independently on a project during asynchronous time while allowing me as the teacher to see progress? Perfect timing, Shannon. Let's go.
Yep.
Maybe.
Sorry about that. My internet died.
No stress.
All right. So, Mel, why don't you start off with grouping and talking about Can We Talk and that such?
Okay, so Steph Rothstein, who's probably actually in the chat, she created this epic website called Can We Talk? And in there's something called the True Colors test. And it's sort of, it was really good for virtual, because like I didn't know these students and I got them to take this test, and it told me like what type of learner they were basically based on certain traits. And so I could use those. So for example, we have those 4 colors right there. I don't want to go into all the detail because you can find all the things on canwetalkedu.com, I think it is. And it's also linked in the slide deck, which you'll see later. But anyway, so you can have people that are super organized or like super caring, or, they're focused on teamwork sort of stuff, or people that are really active, or people that really like to research, for example. Those are just very broad things. And you can decide, as a teacher at that point in time, okay, since I know these things about my students, how do I want to group them? So you don't group, like, for example, all the oranges together in one group, unless you want a group like that is super energetic and has all the things and wants to do all the things at the same time. I mean, like, that's possible. I mean, like, if you want to do that, then go for it. But it is a really good thing, a good resource, okay, for you guys if you want to help with grouping when you don't really know the kids at the start of the year. So, Shannon.
Yeah, and I'll move on to what I have linked there where it says grid view. So being able to monitor the progress of your kids, sometimes is a challenge, and I've had to navigate that as a virtual teacher. But I found that if you just simply toggle, in the slide deck, if you just go down to the bottom right and toggle over to grid view, you can push like Billy was talking about earlier. You could push a slide deck out to your students and give them editing privileges, and then you can actually monitor each and every student's work throughout the course of the both asynchronous and synchronous time. Depending on like if you set a certain time you want them to work on it or anything of that nature. And actually, when you get that, there'll be a template that you can click on and you can take a look. But the cool thing about the grid view in Google Slides is that you can actually see their names and their little avatars popping up and writing, right? Whereas like sometime in Jamboard, as soon as they're done, it's over. And so to monitor that progress, is nice because you can then, comment right then and there and direct it to the students or assign them that work. Mel, before I move to classroom exemplars and success criteria, you want to talk about Steph Howell's piece?
Yep, sure. Okay, so Steph Howe was also a member of Global GG. She's also a founder. But anyway, she made this epic spreadsheet, which is linked also in the slide deck. And it's basically like a student tracking sort of system, but it's run by the students. So for example, if you have this task, it's really good for asynchronous, by the way, if they're working on a big project and you split the project up into like maybe 10 different steps or 10 different stages, whatever it is, and you've put those headings there, and then you have the list of the students. The students can then go into that spreadsheet, so they all have access to the spreadsheet, and they can just check off as to like whether they've finished that task, whether they're like, whether they need you to check on something, or whether they're okay, they're doing things okay. So it's a really good way to just visualize, to just see immediately if the student needs help at that particular point, or if they need you to check in, like they're ready, so they want to just make sure they're on the right track, or those that are they're fine. I mean, like it's a really good visual way, and it's put the responsibility on the students because I've actually before actually Steph shared this, I had my own tracking sheet which I went in and I literally went into each stage of the students' work and saw like what they had done, and I checked it off and I shared that with the students. So this is actually a really good way for the students to actually take responsibility and to actually for you to look at, okay, so this student actually needs help or whatever. So anyway, that's my big blah on that, and it's a very good resource to use it correctly.
Yeah, it's a great way.
Go ahead, Maria.
I was just going to say it's a great way of creating independent learners.
Yeah, I agree. And I liked your blah on that, Mel. It was done beautifully. And I would even say, like, give your students, when you use it for the first time, give them some time to actually work through it and play with it a little bit so they can get the feel for it. So then it doesn't become this fun tool that I have all these drop-down menus, but instead it's an opportunity to, actually use it as an academic tracker. The last two things that I wanted to chat about were the idea of classroom exemplars and success criteria. Both of those icons in the slide are linked, so you can check them out with some cool articles that I put there. But I think, honestly, the best way to set your students up for success and monitor their progress is by giving them a very clear-cut idea of where they need to head. Oftentimes, I think sometimes we just let kids go and say, okay, go do this assignment, you should be able to. And then they reach a point, especially asynchronously, when you're not there to hold their hand, where they give up because they're frustrated and they don't know exactly what's expected of them. And so you want to monitor their progress, give them a clear guideline of exactly what they need to point to show that they are being successful, and rather than it just being this mystery of like, what does my teacher want? So success criteria can be a rubric, or it can be, I use often a checkbox that they can, use to kind of guide them through, do this first, and that you've achieved it when this happens, right? So measurable objectives kind of linked to each of the parts of the assignment. And then as far as classroom exemplars go, We all love models. And so again, if for our visual learners, to cater to them, give them an exemplar, a perfect model of your expectation, and just watch them meet it, right? They don't have to guess anymore. It's there for them. This is what my expectation is as an educator. This is what it looks like to be successful. Here you go. Now go do it. And I know a lot of teachers get nervous. Okay, if I give them a model, won't they just copy that? And to be honest with you, I don't think so. I think kids actually like the opportunity to be innovative if you give them the chance to do so. But you got to lay the foundation, in my opinion, first. And I think that that's really important in that asynchronous work, especially when they're not used to, doing that curriculum on their own. COVID has changed a lot of that. So those would be my suggestions. Any other thoughts on this?
I just wanted to just go in just quickly, and then Maria, just what Shannon mentioned about the fact that it is super important to have that success criteria, whether it is a checkbox, or whether it is a rubric, or whatever it is, especially with async, with a project or whatever. Because if you just give a broad goal, as in like go and research this thing, I mean, like, yes, we'd like them to be like student directed, they can go and do their thing, but without guidelines, most of them are pretty lost. So yeah, I think checkboxes are really good for that. Anyway, sorry, Maria.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry to jump in, but always give them choices of the way that they want to do things, but with like a rubric that says what is expected of them. I think that helps them a lot to feel less lost and that they have a voice in the way that they're doing things. And that's it.
I think a lot of times we mistake social media tech understanding with just technological understanding in our kids, and we assume, oh, they know how to Google this or they know how to find this, and no, they know how to make TikToks. They do not know how to do proper research. Those are two totally different ends of the spectrum.
I have 15-year-olds, and I had to dedicate a lesson to check with them how they were Googling things, how they were like looking up stuff, and if they chose like good sources. They kind of did choose well, but they still didn't really understand what they were finding, because they like mine are people like are taking the class in English, and they've taken classes in English for most of their school lives, but they're still like not native, right? Their main language is still Spanish. So they find the answer, but they don't really understand it because the language is a little bit beyond them, and then they forget to do research of that. So I had to go step by step with them to just like, okay, you share your screen, you show me, how would you find the first term? And then they show me how they usually go with like, what is, instead of like just Google the term, they Google the question. And I tell them to like, don't do that. Step away from Googling a question, because if you Google a question that is like for a term, like what is Zakatayan, for instance, they're going to go straight to one of those websites that is like a homework helper. And those are not the ones that I want them to look into, right? I want them to go like into an encyclopedia or some other one that it's like a better choice. So I steer them in the right direction first. And then, okay, so did you find it? Yes. What is Zakatayan? No, well, it's this and this and that. Did you understand what it means? No. And then they're like, and okay, so which words do you not understand? And then so I tell them to pick out and either look for the meaning or look further. Maybe that will take you to something else. And so I dedicated like a couple of classes already in the school year. Like it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I mean, we're almost finishing the first semester. And so I had to do it so that I can rescue them from themselves, of still Googling things left and right without actually knowing what they're finding. So it's important. It's important to model that.
Yeah. Maria, did you have one last thought on this one?
Yeah, just really quickly. I've also found we're back to face-to-face. So we've done almost 2 whole terms of remote learning. And we have found that the students don't have the same attention span. They've lost a bit of that endurance in the classroom. And so having a rubric or a checklist really helps them to refer back to later on.
Yeah, I love that so much. All right, question number 11. You want to go ahead and read that for us?
I can.
Okay.
All right.
How do you organize your lesson cycle to provide time for students to work asynchronously or offline?
That was amazing, Rick. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Maria, you want to start this one off?
No, I just wanted a chance to interrupt. That's all.
We love it. We love it.
Okay. That would be awesome. Thank you. Just talking from our experience, so I'm not a classroom teacher. I teach. I'm a specialist, so I teach right across the whole school. So my scenario, my experience is different. But speaking on behalf of our school layout, we reflected from Remote Learning 1 to Remote Learning 2, and we went as a whole structure timetable, a whole school timetable, I should say, rather than individual classes. So everyone knew at a certain block that they would be going into their individual classroom, but they would all be doing literacy, for example. And then there would be another block of numeracy. And then that would, after, say, lunchtime, it would then only be needs-based one-to-one or small group work.
I like that. I like that a lot, that whole school versus individual. It's awesome. Kind of gives everybody a structure. What I would add to this, would be I really am a fan as far as lesson design for async. I'm a fan of like really self-contained lessons within a hyperslide deck. And so I've put a little link there. You can see in the middle the to-do checklist. I think that if we can give students the opportunity to be successful and not have to click 1,000 different areas, and I'm speaking from a purely secondary perspective, right? But like, I use, for example, Schoology and as my LMS at my site. And, anytime I want to put an assignment up, it's a new assignment that gets entered in. And so you say, hey, go ahead and check this out. But when they're not with me and they're completing their work asynchronously, and we have them click 8,000 different spots, sometimes students get overwhelmed, or they see this like list of, even if it's the simplest assignment, right? I just want them to write one simple thesis statement as an English teacher. And then I want them to continue and do a couple other pieces. That's like 4 assignments that can add up. Yes, they're small, but then, kids see on that upcoming due dates list, this compilation of all these activities, and it can get overwhelming. And so I like to contain it all into one hyper slide deck. Everything's linked. The LMS is linked. The assignment from the LMS is linked there. And then in addition, throwing it back to that checklist, right? This is the to-do, and the kids can move through. These 2 images we have here on the screen also are great. You can see one in the tops from Sean Junkins, talks about the anatomy of an asynchronous lesson. The one below, we have Catlin Tucker. Everybody loves Catlin Tucker. And they kind of walk through, you can take a look at those, but they walk through all the different facets of a good asynchronous lesson. The last piece that I'm not going to go over every detail, y'all can read or click that later. But the one most important piece, in my opinion, of planning your asynchronous and both synchronous and asynchronous lessons, and I think we talked about this before, is this idea of having feedback, an opportunity for feedback at the end of all of your lessons, right? If we can give them an opportunity for feedback at the end of the asynchronous lesson, we can then use that as educators to fuel our next lesson going in, right? We're not just going in blindly hoping for the best. And I know that this is an issue with a lot of people as far as flipping their classroom, right? How am I going to know like how many kids did it? Well, do a reflection piece, right? And the feedback you get there will then help guide your synchronous lesson or your face-to-face lesson the next class period or the next day. And you'll know exactly where. We have limited time where you need to go. We have limited time, so might as well maximize that time with qualitative data, right? This is what students know or they don't know. Easier said than done, right? We're sitting up here on a panel saying, here's what you should do. In practice, it's a challenge and it does take time, but I really do feel like feedback, offering opportunity for feedback and reflection at the end of every asynchronous lesson really will help kind of guide most teachers' experience. So.
Yeah, at our school, they even scheduled a drop-in time for all students to come in because we're primary, so the primary teachers teach all subjects. So that was actually scheduled into the timetable.
Awesome.
And another thing that you can do is like when you're planning like a flip time, right? Like you want them to get the explanation beforehand, and then they're gonna come into like synchronous time and work on something. One of the best advices I've been given, that somebody said it in some session and I took it, and it's super cool. It's using Edpuzzle, because Edpuzzle gives them accountability. It marks it how many times did they see it, and if they finished it, if they just saw a part of it. And so I recently used it too, and it was awesome to see how many did it in the time it was given, or like, or if they left it for like right before class. And so it's a good way to check up if you need them to see a video, for instance. That is one way to do it through Edpuzzle, because it gives them accountability of how much did they watch. Even if you don't put any interactions or questions, it just marks if they did watch it or not, and the percentage.
And I also think that like a lot of the teachers that I work with at my site are like, I don't want to use Edpuzzle. It's too much time because I have to make the video and then I have to upload the video. And there's so many videos already pre-made out there on Edpuzzle. And so I think I agree with you, Pili. Like, use the tools that are already out there. Don't try to reinvent the wheel, because some exceptional stuff. So, and
that's another thing that could discourage a teacher that doesn't want to use EdTech. Like, oh, it takes longer. On the contrary, if you just curate content instead of trying to build your own, it's going to save you a lot of time. So yeah.
All right. So closing it on up.
Okay. We're talking about our favorite, or one favorite, Chrome extension. I'm going to start with Tab Resizer. It is a Chrome extension that allows you to split your screen into two or more. It was in fact, I'm using it right now, but it is very, very beneficial during remote learning, and during Google Meets, I can split my screen into what I'm presenting and watching the kids all in the Meet.
Awesome. Cool. I'll go next. Everybody knows this. I say it every opportunity I can. I'm obsessed with Wakelet. It is my favorite Chrome extension. I do a lot of research. Sorry, sir, do you have a question?
What's Wakelet?
Okay, so Wakelet's a wonderful curation tool that allows you to create these awesome boards of different websites online. As well as, if you didn't notice in the chat earlier, Becky mentioned that it could be used for newsletters and student collaboration.
Cool.
Wakelet can hire me anytime you want. I'm here for you. But the cool thing,
the applied for ambassador.
Yeah. The cool thing about the extension is when you're on a website, and I'm not alone in this, right? You're looking at a website, you're like, dang, I want to read that later. I'm not going to have time to finish. You can just click the Wakelet extension. It automatically, without having to go to the website, it automatically pops up the Wakelet screen, and you can choose the board you'd like it to go to right then and there. So I'm going to hand it over to Pili.
Yeah, well, it's a bit sad that I have like 3 extensions only. I have my Bitmoji extension, and I think everybody has that one. And one that I use a lot, the people keep telling me I don't need it because it's directly on the keyboard and everything. I still use it because it has more choices. Is the Emoji Keyboard by Pixel Joy. So I have this extension to look up very quickly what emoji I want, because it has a search tool. So I just click on it, look up the emoji I want, and it's copied. As soon as I select it, it's copied, and I just paste it wherever it wants to go. Especially because I've been using it to differentiate topics in classroom. So very, very helpful for me. I highly recommend it. Next would be, tell me, Mel, which one is yours?
Well, if you can recognize me with my amazing Bitmoji, which is Christmas themed, in case you didn't realize we actually did Christmas themes and we didn't talk about that. But anyway, so I'm next to Loom, by the way. And as you probably heard me earlier, I did mention Loom as an epic tool. I think everyone knows Loom. Do I need to explain Loom? You have it used to be a really cool red button thing, and now it's this interesting blue button thing. But anyway, it still works and it's epic. You just click on it and you can just say start recording and record your screen. And you can decide to just record your amazing face, or the screen and your face, or just the screen. And then you can just share the link directly with the students. It is pretty amazing. So yes, that's my favorite extension. And next, let's go with Rick.
Okay. I picked IORAD, or I'm not sure that's how you say it. IORAD, whatever. I work specifically with 5th grade students, and I often assume that they have the soft skills that I would think that they would have. I mean, they found their way to the lesson, didn't they? Surely in this asynchronous environment, they know how to share a document on Google Drive. Well, sometimes they don't. So with the IORAD extension, you just click that, I'm going to call it pink, magenta, whatever, square that's already there embedded in my extension, and I can just go through the steps of what you would do in order to do that task, and it's got just right there. It will lead you on a step-by-step way to, do the thing that I asked them to do that I assumed they knew how to do, which they apparently didn't. So IORAD, it's been really helpful in bridging those learning gaps that the students have in the quote-unquote soft skills of, like, I mean, you figured out how to edit that video together of my lesson and toot noises, yet you couldn't figure out how to send me an email. So here's an IORAD showing you how to do that. Let's go to Jenna.
I was gonna say, I get so many emails from my kids where it's everything is in the subject line, the whole email. I'm just like, oh lordy. I had to be that person. I could not narrow it down to just one. I know there's always one person. I actually have two. Aquadio. I teach, like I said, high school math, and it makes it so that we can put mathematical symbols and formulas in everywhere. I use it a lot for my Google Forms so that I can give my kids quick exit tickets, and they don't have to X, caret, 2, divide, and I can't figure out where they want the division. It makes it much easier. And I've gotten very attached to my Zoom scheduler because I can just click it and schedule a meeting, and I don't have, it puts it on my calendar automatically. It's also now linked to my Google Calendar, so that if I add something to my calendar, it's just, there's a little button, just like adding a meet. I now have a button right below it that says make it a Zoom meeting. So I can just, right?
I didn't know that was a thing. That's awesome.
Boop, there's a button for that.
Oh, cool.
I love it.
I wanted to ask about the pronunciation of, you said Aquadio?
Aquadio.
Because I thought it was equation.
It's like
I always
equation. They
thought
just,
it was
if you actually see it typed out, there's a period between the T and the I.
Oh,
like
so
aquat.io, but everyone just calls it. It's just called Aquadio.
All right.
It's by the same. I think it's by the same people that do text read and write.
Text, yes.
Yep. The more you learn.
I know.
Awesome.
Free for teachers. So all my fellow math teachers who desperately need it, it's free.
Yeah, right on. Well, at this point, this is where it said in the chat, I'm supposed to say thank you, but probably not with the question mark. But thank you all for attending, or if you're watching this later. If you have any questions, please ask them. We regularly, and by we, I mean everyone else here, I rarely remember, we'll tweet out the form where you can ask questions of us. Again, EdTech related, please. I mean, you don't need to know specifics about our lives, but just won't answer them. Feel free to fill out the form and ask us some questions so we can do a episode 3, because we're going to schedule it. We're going to do it. So if you don't ask questions, anyway. If you get a chance, fill out the feedback form. You will get credits for this. And otherwise, thank you very much. This has been great. Anyone else want to say some stuff while I get things ready to turn off?
I want to thank everybody who joined us and participated on the chat. There's Jason, there's Tara, there's James, Bonnie, Steph. I saw somebody else. I saw Cora. Hi, Cora. Becky was there supporting. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you enjoyed it.
I'd also like to say thank you to our team. I would also like to say thank you to the people that are attending. Please spread it out to your networks. It keeps us invigorated by having the questions, and I'm sure there are many other people that want to know the answer of the same question. Thank you.
All right. See y'all later.
Chat.
Bye.
Bye.